Most people who visit Bordeaux order steak à la Bordaise. A good steak, a rich red wine sauce, classic, satisfying, very French. The true à la Bordaise dish, the one that has been eaten in this city for centuries, the one that connects directly to the Gironde estuary and the ancient food culture of the southwest, is not steak at all. It is lamprey, a jawless, boneless, primitive eel-like fish caught in the Gironde. Collected alive, hung to collect its blood, slow-cooked with leeks, bacon, thyme, and a red wine sauce made with that very blood, and served with garlic croutons. It is extraordinary. It is unlike anything else in French cuisine, and it is a perfect introduction to a city whose food is far more surprising, far more layered, and far more extraordinary than its wine reputation ever quite manages to suggest. This is Fabulously Delicious, the French Food Podcast, and I'm your host, Andrew Pryor. Today, we're going to Bordeaux. By the end of this episode, you will know the full story of the food of this city, from the Celtic tribe who first settled on the crescent of the Garonne, Aquitaine caviar, and its remarkable reinvention story, and the chefs that this city has given to French gastronomy. Come with me, let's explore Bordeaux. Bordeaux is a port city, and port cities eat differently to everywhere else. For more than 2,000 years, Roman Empire builders, Basque merchants, British colonisers, Dutch shippers, and global traders have all passed through this crescent-shaped bend in the Garonne, and every one of them left something behind in the food. The result is a cuisine that sits at the crossroads of Atlantic, Mediterranean, and Iberian influences, shaped by what arrived at the docks and what grew in the surrounding countryside. Lamprey from the Gironde estuary, caviar from the Garonne, oysters from Cap Ferret, ceps from the pine forests, asparagus from the black sand soils of the Blayais, beef from Bazar, lamb from Polac, foie gras from the wider Nouvelle-Aquitaine, and a small fluted cake made from leftover egg yolks from the wine trade that became the most emblematic pastry in France. Bordeaux cuisine is not a single thing. It's an accumulation of 2 millennia of the world passing through and sitting down to eat. Bordeaux, the city, is the capital of the Nouvelle-Aquitaine, the largest region in France, situated in the southwest of the country on a dramatic crescent-shaped curve of the Garonne River, a curve so distinctive that UNESCO gave the city its poetic official title, Port de la Lune, the Port of the Moon. It sits around 300 kilometres from Paris by road, 2 hours by TGV, and it's positioned at a remarkable natural crossroads, close to the Atlantic coast, within reach of the Pyrenees, and connected by river to the wider Dordogne and Garonne valleys. The city is known as the Pearl of the Aquitaine, and in 2007, its entire historic centre, more protected buildings than any French city except Paris, was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And in 2016, the Cité de Vin opened on the waterfront, cementing Bordeaux's position as an undisputed global capital of wine culture. It is, by any measure, one of the most extraordinary cities in France. The story of Bordeaux begins around 300 BC, when a Celtic tribe settled on the curve of the Garonne and named the place Bordeaux. The Romans arrived, recognised the strategic value of the location at the intersection of routes linking the Atlantic, the Mediterranean, and the Iberian Peninsula. So they established vineyards, built temples, baths and amphitheatres, and an aqueduct, and turned Bordeaux into one of the great cities of Gaul, a moment that truly set Bordeaux on its path to extraordinary prosperity came in 1152 with a royal wedding, when Eleanor of Aquitaine married Henry Plantagenet and would become King Henry II of England. The entire region came under English rule for 3 centuries. The English developed an insatiable appetite for what they called claret. The port of Bordeaux filled with ships. The wine trade boomed, and the food culture of the city began absorbing the Anglo-Gascon influences that you can still feel in certain corners of the old town today. The 18th century was Bordeaux's golden age, under the supervision of two visionary intendants, Nicolas Francois Dupré de Saint-Mure and then the Marquis de Tourny. The city was almost entirely rebuilt. Grand neoclassical boulevards, the magnificent Place de la Bourse with its stunning waterfront facade, the Grand-Théâtre, one of the most beautiful opera houses in Europe, all constructed within a single extraordinary century of ambition and wealth. Bordeaux in the 18th century was building itself into one of the great cities of the world. And if that kind of French city grandeur speaks to you, I want to mention my book before we get into the food. Paris, a fabulous food guide to the world's most delicious city, has just been newly updated, and this new edition is the one I'm most proud of. Over 100 additional pages on the history of food in Paris, because just as understanding what shaped Bordeaux makes the food taste better, understanding why Paris eats the way it does is just as important as knowing where to go. All my favourite boulangeries, patisseries, fromageries, wine bars, markets and hidden gems are all in there. Plus, there's new sections for vegan and vegetarian dining, beautiful food with view spots, and a dedicated section on Emily in Paris locations, so that you can go and sit and dine exactly where Emily did. Order directly from my website at andrewpryorfabulously.com. It's also on Amazon, or you can ask your local independent bookstore to order it in. Right, now back to Bordeaux and what the city is actually known for in food. By the end of the 18th century, Bordeaux had become the largest harbour in France and the second busiest port in the world after London. Its population grew from 60,000 to 110,000 in less than a century, and it's worth saying clearly that this prosperity was built in significant part to the slave trade. Bordeaux's shipowners launched around 500 slaving expeditions and deported an estimated 150,000 Africans. That history is part of the city's story and cannot be separated from it. During the Second World War, the city housed both an Italian submarine base and a major German U-boat headquarters. The massive reinforced concrete U-boat pens, too impractical to demolish, are now partly used as a cultural centre. It is a city of extraordinary layers. And most people, if you mention Bordeaux food, will say, well, wine. And yes, obviously, but the food of Bordeaux is far more interesting than its global reputation and wine trade suggests. The true dish à la Bordeaux is not steak and red wine sauce. That's a tourist invention. The true à la Bordeaux dish is lamprey, the ancient jawless fish of the Garonne estuary. It's slow cooked in red wine with leeks, bacon, and its own blood. Not so sure about that. Beyond that, Bordeaux is the home of the canelé, born from the leftovers of the wine trade. It is the historic heartland of the Aquitaine caviar, produced from sturgeon farmed in the rivers of Gironde. It claims some of the finest oysters in France with Cap Ferret and the Archon Basin. It produces Polack lamb with PGI status and Bazar's bœuf, sometimes called the Wagyu of France, and the Blé white asparagus. But let's dive a little bit deeper. The canelé. It's the most emblematic food of Bordeaux, a small cylindrical cake with a dark, glossy, deep caramelised crust and a soft custardy interior, flavoured with rum and vanilla and baked in fluted copper moulds brushed with beeswax. The origins are genuinely disputed, and food historians have been arguing about them for decades. The most romantic storyline involves nuns who have said to have used leftover egg yolks given to them by Bordeaux's wine producers, who used the whites to clarify and filter their wine. Along with rum and vanilla arriving from the Atlantic trade, the nuns made small cakes for the poor. Whether this is entirely true is, well, uncertain. What is documented is that artisans called caneleurs registered a guild with the Parliament of Bordeaux in 1663, obtaining a monopoly on producing these cakes. By 1785, there were at least 39 canelliers shops in Bordeaux alone. The French Revolution abolished the guilds and the recipe fell into relative obscurity. And then in the early 20th century, an unknown pastry chef revived the antique recipe, adding rum, vanilla, and the distinctive 12-fluted mould shape. It's said to be inspired by the columns of the Grand-Théâtre. In 1985, the Comfrey de Canel de Bordeaux was created. The second N was officially dropped from the spelling to distinguish the Bordeaux version, and the name was registered as a protected collective brand. Within 10 years, there were more than 800 manufacturers in Aquitaine. Today, the canal is one of the culinary symbols of the city. Sold traditionally in bunches of 8 or 16, best eaten within an hour of coming out of the oven, and paired beautifully with champagne or a strong espresso. Lamprey is not a beautiful fish. It is, in fact, one of the stranger creatures in the water. Jawless, boneless, eel-like, primitive, and so ancient in evolutionary terms that it predates the dinosaurs. It is caught in the Garonne estuary and the Dordogne, mostly between January and April, and it is a true emblematic dish of Bordeaux cuisine. The one that locals will point to when tourists order steak à la Bordeaux and gently correct them. The preparation is not for the faint-hearted. The lamprey is collected alive and hung to allow the blood to be drained and collected, because the blood is essential to the dish. It is then cut into pieces, briefly boiled to remove the skin, and slow cooked with leeks, bacon, thyme, beef, a bay leaf, and a rich red wine sauce made with the reserved blood. The cooking time is critical. The flesh must remain firm but yielding, never disintegrating. It is served with garlic croutons. The dish is a direct link to the medieval food culture of the Gironde, when lamprey was considered one of the great delicacies of the region. King Henry I of England reportedly died in 1135 from eating a surfeit of them, a story that has never discouraged the Bordelais from cooking them. Then we have the story of Aquitaine caviar. It begins with a legend, specifically a Russian princess who, passing through the Gironde in the early 20th century, was reportedly horrified to see local fishermen throwing away the eggs of the sturgeon that they were catching for their meat. She explained what those eggs were worth, and so, in around 1920, a caviar production began on the right bank of the Gironde, eventually reaching up to 5 tons per year. Wild sturgeon, the European species, naturally presented in the Gironde and Garonne estuaries, where fish were fished heavily and, irresponsibly. And by the 1980s, the species had collapsed. Wild sturgeon fishing was completely banned in 1982. What followed was a story of reinvention. In the late 80s, pioneers in the Aquitaine began farming Iberian sturgeon in the rivers and ponds of the Gironde and the Charente-Maritime. France became one of the first countries in the world to develop sturgeon aquaculture at scale, and today Aquitaine produces around 24 to 25 tons of caviar annually. 6 of France's 8 caviar producers are based in the region. The leading producer is Duria, the brand of the sturgeon company founded near Bordeaux. Aquitaine caviar is distinguished by its less pronounced salinity compared to the Russian caviar. It uses dehydrated rather than brine salt, giving it a delicate iodine and hazelnut character that has won the confidence of the world's finest restaurants. No antibiotics, no GMOs, no hormones. The city has produced some remarkable figures in the history of French gastronomy, starting with Adolphe Duguerre. Born in Bordeaux on the 3rd of June 1805, a pupil of the great Carême, who went on to become head chef of the Café Anglais in Paris, the most celebrated restaurant of the 19th century France. It was Dugley who served the legendary Dîner de Trois Empereurs on the 7th of June in 1867. An 8-hour banquet for Tsar Alexander II, his son King William I of Prussia, during which the composer Rossini dubbed him La Mozart de la cuisine. He created pomme Anna, sole du gruyere, and potager Gemini. He left behind no cookbooks, only recipes in notebooks, some of which are displayed at the Musée National in Paris. Philippe Etchebest, raised in Bordeaux, Millier Ovier de France in 2000, has a 2 Michelin star at Hostelier de Plaisance in Saint-Emilion in 2008. And now he has Le Quatrième Mur inside Bordeaux's Grand Théâtre and Maison Nouvelle in the city, and one of the most recognisable faces on food television in France. And Hélène Darroze, born in Mont-de-Marsan in the Landes, 4th generation of a restaurateur family who studied at the École Supérieure de Commerce de Bordeaux before Alain Decazes recognised something in her and pushed her into the kitchen. She now holds 6 Michelin stars, including 3 at the Connaught in London. She's named World's Best Female Chef in 2015 and is a Chevalier of the Legion d'Honneur. Her cuisine is rooted entirely in the southwest, the terroir of the Nouvelle-Aquitaine that runs through everything that she does. Bordeaux has been attracting devoted admirers for centuries, and the food is a large part of why. The medieval chronicler who described Aquitaine as opulent and sweet as nectar thanks to its vineyards overflowing with fruit and vegetables of every kind was not wrong. Eleanor of Aquitaine clearly loved it enough to make it the centre of her world. Montaigne, born in the Bordeaux region, made it his philosophical home. And more recently, the city has undergone what many describe as a new golden age. The TGV connected it to Paris in 2017 and brought the capital within 2 hours of the city. And a wave of food-conscious visitors, chefs and writers discovered what Bordelais had always known. Anthony Bourdain visited and praised the city's food culture warmly, noting its combination of serious gastronomy and genuine unpretentiousness. Raymond Oliver himself said the rich cuisine of his Bordeaux youth, the foie gras, the sauterines, the caviar, the lamprey, was a cuisine built for people who understood that pleasure was not something to be apologised for. And for Hélène Darroze, who studied there, becoming one of the world's best celebrated female chefs, has said that the Southwest gave her everything: the respect for products, the authenticity, the love of a job well done. Bordeaux, in the end, is a city that has always taken food seriously, not as performance, but as life itself. Et voilà. That's the end of today's episode of Fabulously Delicious. If this episode made you want to book a table in Bordeaux, track down a canelé, order some Aquitaine caviar, or simply stand at the Marché de Capucines on a Saturday morning with a plate of oysters and a glass of white wine and parfait, that's exactly the right response to this city. If you enjoyed it, the best things that you can do are leave a review and a rating on whatever platform that you're listening to the podcast right now. It takes 30 seconds and it makes an enormous difference to how many people find the podcast. So merci beaucoup. You can find me on Instagram at Andrew Pryor Fabulously for French food history, fun facts, and behind-the-scenes life in rural France. If you'd rather watch than listen, full video episodes are on YouTube. Same stories, the same food, just with my face attached. And I have a Substack. It's free to subscribe, or you could go paid if you'd like to support the show and get a little more of everything that is fabulously French. The link is in the show notes for this episode, or you can go to andrewpryorfabulously.com for more details. Come for the croissants and stay because you're fabulous. This episode has resonated with you. Go and find my Burgundy episode, another region where the food tells the whole story of a place. and my episode on Raymond Olivier, the chef born in Languedoc, in the heart of the Bordeaux region, who took his Gascon roots to Paris, brought the Le Grand Feu and fed Winston Churchill, Princess Grace and Jean Cocteau from the same kitchen. Both are waiting for you right now. Just search Fabulously Delicious wherever you listen. Until next time, eat well, stay curious, and whatever you do it fabulously. Merci beaucoup, bon appétit et à très bientôt.